Hi, I'm Drayton Boylston, and I'm here with my lovely daughter, Taylor. It's as quiet as I've ever seen you. There you go. And Taylor and I were talking at lunch today. I said, boy, we really need to get this on camera. We were talking about life purpose and where you are now and the mindset of the people in your generation in terms of the way you approach things. And I think so many people I talk to in the business world that talk about these millennials and they talk about they're lazy and entitled and the whole Time magazine thing that Joel Stein came out with and the backlash from that. And what I know is that the millennials by 2020 will represent 40% of the workforce. So we better figure this out. And we better respect and get to know people in your age group from really 15, let's say, up to 30. Just in broad terms, that's what people are thinking about in terms of the millennials. And understand your values, which I think are great, yet I think they're vastly different than a lot of people, especially in the business world. So I'd love to just get your thoughts on where you're coming from, what you value, what you want to do while you're here on this planet, and what you're sharing with your friends.
I guess like growing up, a lot of life seemed to be like you go to school, you graduate high school, you go to college, you get a job, you buy a house, you have a family.
Wait a minute, weren't those my words?
Pretty much. And that is something that has never appealed to me. And I've never really known like why or what I've meant to do or what it's going to look like. But I feel like my purpose on this earth is just to explore and enjoy my time here and make beautiful things and connect different people from all around with each other. And life's an adventure. And if I'm not adventuring, I'm not living. So
one of the things they talk about in the research they've done, the average millennial is going to have over 20 jobs. You think?
Oh man, I'm probably already there.
At 21?
Yeah.
Speak to, you said something that I found utterly brilliant, which you always come out with brilliant things, you know that. At lunch today, you were talking about being like an aspen tree. I thought that was beautiful.
Oh yeah, well how aspen trees are just so interconnected, and every tree that you see in a forest is part of the same tree family, and how I kind of want to be an aspen tree in the United States and the world and just bring together creative people that should know each other and should be connected and just help facilitate's not a word.
It is now.
It is
it's
now.
Captured on
camera. Oh my gosh. But just connect people and bring people together and inspire people to just do what they want to do with their life. You know, you don't have to have a house and a good job. You just have to live. So.
And we talked about the no rules thing, and where did we take that? Do you remember?
I don't remember where we took that, but no rules?
So no rules, no boundaries, but there are some general rules. We talked about
It's like the golden rule.
And just do the right things for humankind, first and foremost.
And just do what you feel. And I feel like the universe provides for the people that provide for it. And if you're living the life that you want to live, things will just fall into place. I mean, I've definitely found that. And
well, you've created that, right?
I've created that.
It's
I
the
mean,
law of manifestation and those things, and it's worked for you.
Yeah.
At 21.
Woo.
And there's so many people in my generation that we were so brainwashed, probably, growing up, that linear path of work, and do versus being.
Yeah.
And I know when I started going down my spiritual path, as I woke up later in life, I had gone down that path with zero or very little fulfillment. And I got to that place where I was in, my mid-40s, and I'm just going, really? This is it? And you've figured that out, along with a lot of your friends, that in your early 20s, that there's more to life than just this doing thing. It's really about being.
Yeah. Well, it's just crazy thinking about like working a job to pay rent at my house that I'm never at because I'm always at my job, and this crazy cycle of events that's just keeping me sedentary when it's like, oh, I can live on the road or in a tent or wherever and be having these adventures and meeting these really amazing, beautiful people and doing these things and creating memories instead of obtaining things. And that's really something that I feel like me and a lot of my friends value, are the memories and the moments and the people and the connections instead of the house and the car and the family and the
Wow.
stuff.
And they've proven, look at all the happiness research that's really bubbled up in the last few years. Sean Acor from Harvard has done some brilliant work around what makes people happy. And our happiness quotient levels off after $50,000 a year in income.
Well, perfect. I'm not there, so I'm stoked.
That's great. You want to get to the 50 maybe.
Maybe.
But it's not the things
It's
that
not
the
the
money
things.
buys.
Yeah.
They say that when you look at a person's overall happiness, it's the experiences.
Well, things can disappear any day. I mean, I guess your mind can disappear too, but it's just feeling like you're living life instead of just doing something to have something in the future. You're doing something now to just have a moment and to have a full life. And that's all I really want. Just memories and people and
Oh, have you thought about
moments.
what's your purpose? If somebody said, Taylor, what's your purpose in life? What's your answer?
I don't know, be happy and inspire others. I feel like that's something I've been good at and that I want to just continue doing, is just helping people realize that there's more to life than going to work and doing your 9 to 5 that you hate every day, when you can do something that's like invigorating and exciting that like fills you instead of just drains you.
And we talked at lunch about Gallup just came out with a poll about 6 months ago that said 80% of all people never
Yeah.
use their greatest gift at work.
Yeah, it's crazy. It should be the opposite. And
Yes.
it's finding out how to make your work your passion and how to use how to make your skills your work. And it's totally doable. It's hard. Maybe you're going to struggle for a while, but it's doable.
And
Anything's doable.
Anything's doable. You're
all
absolutely
possible.
right.
Ooh.
Well, I think about people that are in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and they're at death's door, some of them, and they look back and you've heard me say, live your life from your eulogy backwards.
Oh, I don't think I've ever heard you say that.
You haven't heard me say
No.
that? Well, I've written articles about it, and I've talked to people a lot about it in class, and it's one of those things you don't want to get on your deathbed and look back and go, shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you start today and say, what do I want my life's imprint on this planet? What do I want that to look like? And what do I want people to say about me? Not that it's really going to matter
Right.
at that point, but what will people say about me? What will they say about me today?
Totally. And it's all about living in the now and just having
Yeah.
today. Like, there might not always be a next week or next year or next month. And so you wake up and you're like, what am I going to do today to make my life fulfilling? Maybe that means going into your job and quitting and hitting the road. Who knows? But it's today. Today's all that really matters. And anything that's meant to happen will happen. And it'll be beautiful and great and scary and crazy. But
Scary,
scary.
right?
Yeah.
Isn't that where the growth is?
Totally. I mean, I feel like people learn more. I mean, I've learned more about myself being in scary situations or like just hard situations or uncomfortable situations than I've ever learned, like living in my nice little house in my nice little neighborhood with my nice little job. Like, I've grown more as a person being out of my comfort zone than I ever have and ever will living like the American dream.
The so-called,
The so-called,
right?
yeah.
Where did that come from?
Right.
And is it really so?
Right.
How many people are really happy?
Yeah.
They said depression is going to be the number 2 killer by 2020. Depression.
That's crazy.
So I want to shift gears for a second.
Yes.
The millennials' thought on retirement, because I've got this crazy idea that retirement's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you going to do? All of a sudden just call a timeout, go home and die? I mean, you're going to stop
That's
doing
kind of what
stuff?
it feels like. Retirement for me is death. Like, I like doing things, and I feel like if I've created my life, so my work is my passion, and I love what I do, then I won't ever want to retire. Like, I don't like being bored. I don't like doing nothing. I don't like knitting. I don't know what retired people do, but it seems like they might knit, and I don't. I already have enough hats.
Well, think about it. If 80% of the people are not doing what they truly love and feeding their creative side,
and it's like,
while
man,
they're here,
get me out of here.
they want to get out of here.
Yeah, they want to retire.
So we hold out this thing of retirement where goodness knows, are we going to be even healthy enough to enjoy the retirement?
Right.
Are we going to have enough money and
all
the stress? Well, why
live
not
in
enjoy
retirement?
Today? There you go.
I mean,
but the retirement mindset too.
Totally.
So can you imagine just getting
living
up,
your whole life to have this end goal of not having to do what you're currently doing?
Yes.
It's kind of ridiculous. I mean, I know there's that whole listen to your elders thing, but it's all kind of messed up. I don't know.
So how many of your peers and in this millennial bucket of folks feel this way, do you think, when you talk to people?
I feel like 100% of my friends are on the same path and very spontaneous and very just full of life and excited for whatever adventure awaits them and not concerned about money or status or things. It's very spontaneous and beautiful.
And the money thing is huge. I think that's a really big one because you look at the surveys that are being done with the millennials now. Money, I mean, for my generation, it was all about money things, power, all that. Strive, eat your dead, all those good things. You think about your generation, they're saying money is so far down the list.
So far down, yeah. And I feel like a lot of people take care of each other too. Like there's always someone able to help you. And just in my peer group alone, it's very supportive and connected. And it's like, you need something, like we got this. And it's kind of like a trade economy in a sense where you don't really need money to function when you're with this support group that's just willing to barter or trade goods or services.
So harken this back down. You say these things, and I immediately go back to the '60s, right? So it's peace, love, and all that. And you think about the co-ops and the communes and those things. When we have these conversations, so much of it feels like, I call you my '60s hippie child.
Yeah.
So it feels like that. Does that make sense to you?
Totally. I mean, I've been obsessed with the '60s since I was a kid, but it's definitely a lifestyle that I can totally relate to and adapt to, and it just feels right. I mean.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I think it goes back to the core values that people felt back then, and the change, and things were not working, and you had the Vietnam War, and all these things that were just so against what they stood for.
And it's realizing too that each individual has the ability to make the change. And it's not just sitting around waiting for something to happen. It's like, oh, what do I not like and how can I change it? And people making these changes visible instead of waiting for someone else to make them happen.
Oh my gosh,
So.
I love that. You know what that speaks to for me? The difference between being a victim and taking ownership.
Yeah.
So we call it rising from victim to victor, but it's taking ownership. So how many people today say, he did this to me, the government did this to me, and they're taking all of their power and giving it to somebody else.
Totally. And you just have to take that power back and be like, what can I do to just make a difference? And one tiny person does make a difference because it just boomerangs, like one person sees you doing this and then they're inspired, and it just continues down this road of eventual change.
So take a moment, just take a minute and speak to the people out there that are not in your generation. What would you want them to hear?
Gosh. I don't know all the answers, but no one does. And you just have to do what feels right. I mean, there's no right or wrong. It's just following your heart and making choices that you feel are the best for yourself. And I know not everyone shares the same mindset as me, even people of my own generation, but you just have to do what you're called to do. I mean, whatever that is. Maybe it means be a lawyer, a doctor, whatever. Maybe it means quitting your job and traveling, but you just have to follow your heart and not care about the norms.
And I love what you said about the calling piece. I mean,
Yeah.
that's purpose. When you feel that certain pull, like when you do photography, when you have your hands in the soil doing organic gardening,
Yeah.
you feel connected and you
Totally.
feel that's part of your purpose.
Yeah. It's like a
And-
button that switches and you're like, oh, like I get it. Like life makes sense. Like this is cool. Finally.
Yes.
Yeah.
And giving yourself the chance and being open to those things. You know, I think about when you're in the flow and, you know, in the zone, people call it, and time just evaporates.
Yeah.
So for you doing the things you love, all of a sudden 3 hours goes by and it's like,
Like
whoa,
what? Yeah.
it's just time stands still. And you're just in that zone and you feel so alive and so connected.
Totally. Totally. But some of those realizations are really scary. Being like, oh,
Yeah.
like I have to do this thing and I'm giving up everything I currently have to go on this journey. Okay, like I'm terrified, but this is what I have to do. Like there's just no other option.
And you'll
So-
get at that point, let's say you do, you go on this road trip you're talking about.
Yeah.
Versus sitting at home in 6 months, you look back and go, oh, I should have done that, and you'd have regrets,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But you go on it, and whatever lessons you learn and what teachers come your way, it's still far better than where you were
Totally,
right here at baseline.
totally. And whatever happens, like whatever happens, good or bad, it happened and I've learned something from it and it's affected my life in a beautiful way. And
Wow. Whether good or
whether
bad.
good or bad, it's something
That's
beautiful.
so healthy.
That's a learning experience. And I feel like so much of life is just about doing things and getting hurt and being broke and being cold and being hungry and just going with it.
Wow. And if we can approach everything as things don't happen to me, things happen for me.
Yeah, yeah,
So anything that comes your way, if you look at it as it happens for me versus playing the victim
Totally.
and it happens to me,
yeah.
what kind of mind shift does that
Well,
create?
and I mean, I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. So whatever happens, it's like, bring it on. Like, all right, gonna take it.
Versus just fighting.
Yeah, yeah, because I feel like the more combative you are with things, the more they flood in. And if you're just like, okay, like this is it, this is going on, it'll just be cool.
Well, that's when they talk about teachers. So we get teachers, and if we don't heed the lesson, guess
It'll
what?
just keep coming back. Yeah.
Teacher brings a big old
Right?
stick next time
Yeah,
and
totally.
whacks you upside
Totally.
the head.
Yeah.
Voices get louder and more challenging.
And I know I'm like number one stubborn
Seriously?
person in the world.
I
Oh
never
my
would have guessed
gosh.
that.
Really? Good thing you didn't know me 5 years ago. Oh,
Yeah, right.
Wait a second.
Well, I think they're incredibly valuable lessons, and I think I want our generation and other generations to appreciate and get to know the millennials, because I think a lot of it is that you scare us because we want to be you.
Well, people
But
are
with-
mirrors.
Yeah.
I like everyone's a
Yeah.
mirror for each other, and I feel like whenever someone's judgmental or scared of something, it's because they see themselves in that person, or
Mhm.
there's just that tinge of like, what if I did that, or what if? And so you can't live in the what ifs, you just got to do it, and then don't have those what ifs anymore.
Nice.
Yay, are we?
Yeah.